I was really hoping for more out of this, but should you be put to death if you buy a book or movie or show or anything really and you don't finish it? Should you be legally allowed to be struck down by, I don't know, an AGM-114R9 Hellfire missile? Decimated, just like the many targets the CIA uses them on for very ethical and moral reasons? I would say not. Unless, of course, it's something that I like. And then yes, death penalty, completely reasonable. But for real, it's your time, it's your money, it's your thing that you were interested in. If it does not twist your nipples the way you were hoping they would, then seek that joyous nipple twisting elsewhere. This has been on my list since I first heard about it, honestly. I mean, bitch won a Hugo Award. That shit's crazy. It sounded right up my alley, too. Science fiction, political drama, slow burn mystery, a murder to be solved, a deadly technology to be uncovered. Everything about this was just yelling at me to read it, telling me that I would absolutely love it. To me, it was the hot goth envy that I always go after, but alas, in reality, it was just but a normie. I actually don't like the term slow burn that much because it implies that slow is somehow bad, or it could be faster and there's a lot of wasted time. And I disagree with that sentiment. I think that there is a certain calculation, a certain intentional pacing that an author is delivering with a story that takes longer to unfold, with a lot of yummy little details, a lot of tasty treats that you learn along the way to flesh out the world and the characters and really build up the central mystery and conflict. And that relies so heavily, I think, on an excellent prose, some wonderful detailing, and an appropriate drip feed of information. And I found through the 1/3 of the way that I got before I decided to stop out of pure boredom that this book did not have that for me. So much of this book is dialogue. It's people talking to each other, and that isn't a bad thing. But when you have a book told in a lot of that format, the dialogue and the information relayed in that dialogue has to be real fucking good. And so much of it felt like busy work to me. I felt like we kept hearing about all of these magnificent and almost mythological people, or these conflicts and events, this drama, these histories. A lot of things are even happening right now in the book, but we're just kind of told them very briefly, and then we move on to just like some uninteresting bureaucracy of someone who has just arrived on a completely foreign planet. And that fish out of water scenario can be very interesting, but I found that so much of the information surrounding the main character outside of their own internal monologue surrounding how they feel like a fish out of water was really boring and really underwhelming. It felt very cyclical. It felt like I kept experiencing the same dialogue. I kept experiencing the same dialogue. I kept experiencing the same dialogue, and none of the side characters helped at all. I felt like I couldn't envision them. I felt like I couldn't envision anything with how the book was described and delivered. I felt like I was drawn in by this visage of an empire created with Aztec aesthetic. But I feel like so much of that image in my brain was carried through just reading the initial description of the book, and I really didn't feel that essence infused into the descriptions of the world or the characters, because it didn't really feel like there was any at all. I was floating aimlessly in my brain, unable to make a mental picture of things, which is very important to me. So much telling, not enough showing. Cannot see, do not care. I almost felt like I was breaking a cycle. This obsessive compulsion to finish something once I have started it, almost out of this primal need to not leave anything undone, no matter how bored or miserable it makes me. But I stopped after 1/3 of the way through, and I gotta say, felt kind of good. Good enough to be drone struck, I made it like 130, 150 pages in, and you know what? I gave it the good old college try. I made it a third of the way through, and that's enough for me. Wouldn't it be kind of funny if, in the spirit of how this book went, I just only edited this video 1/3 of the way